The most dangerous person in a war is not the strongest person. It is the person who knows exactly when not to fight. That sounds like weakness. It isn't. Because most people don't lose when they are defeated. They lose much earlier, when someone else convinces them to react. Think about it. Someone insults you, and you answer. Someone challenges your authority, and you defend yourself. A competitor moves, and you immediately counter. A stranger attacks your reputation, and suddenly you are spending hours proving that they are wrong. You believe you are protecting your position. But what if you are doing exactly what your opponent wanted? Karl von Clausewitz spent years studying war, yet one of the darkest lessons hidden inside his thinking has almost nothing to do with weapons. It has to do with control. Not controlling the enemy, not controlling the battlefield, controlling the one thing your enemy desperately needs from you, your reaction. And here is where it gets disturbing. What if some of your biggest defeats were not caused by people who were stronger than you? What if you defeated yourself by entering battles that were never yours to fight? A company can destroy itself trying to beat a competitor. A politician can lose power trying to answer every accusation. A brilliant person can become predictable simply because they cannot tolerate being misunderstood. Even in ordinary relationships, the person who knows exactly what will make you angry may have more power over you than the person who loves you. But there is something even more dangerous. The battlefield may not even be real. You could be fighting an enemy who isn't attacking you, defending a reputation nobody is actually questioning, competing against people who don't know you exist, reacting to information deliberately designed to make you afraid. And if that is true, then the question is no longer, how do I defeat my enemy? The real question becomes much darker. Who taught you that you had to fight? Because Clausewitz understood something that modern psychology, politics, business, and technology keep proving over and over again. Once someone controls the conditions of a conflict, they may not need to control the outcome. They only need to control your next move. And near the end of this video, we will reach the most important idea of all. The one that changes what defeat actually means. It explains why the person who appears to lose can sometimes be the only person who still controls the future. But before we get there, you need to understand the first trap. Because the moment you confuse movement with progress, you may already be fighting on someone else's battlefield. Number 1. The defeat you fear is not the real defeat. The strange thing about great minds is that they rarely fear losing the battle. They fear something much worse. They fear entering a battle whose outcome has already been decided by forces they cannot see. Most people think defeat happens when you are weaker than your opponent. Clausewitz understood something darker. Defeat often begins long before the first move, when you surrender control of the conditions surrounding the fight. A company loses before its competitor launches. A politician loses before the election begins. A person loses before the argument even starts. Not because they lacked intelligence, because they allowed someone else to define the battlefield. And this creates 3 uncomfortable questions. How much of your destiny is actually yours? Why do intelligent people repeatedly walk into situations designed to defeat them? And what if the greatest strategic advantage is not knowing how to win, but knowing when the game itself is no longer worth playing? Clausewitz spent his life studying war, but the deeper lesson reaches far beyond armies. Because modern life has become a battlefield without uniforms. Every notification demands attention. Every platform competes for loyalty. Every negotiation hides an invisible struggle over position. And somewhere inside that, chaos is a principle most people never notice. The person who controls the conditions of conflict often controls the outcome before conflict becomes visible. But to understand why, we have to look at the first mistake almost everyone makes. Number 2. People confuse movement with progress. Watch modern competition closely. 2 companies race to release products. 2 creators race to publish. 2 political groups race to dominate the news cycle. Everyone is moving. Everyone appears aggressive. And yet movement can be the perfect disguise for strategic blindness. Clausewitz recognized that war is filled with friction. Plans collide with weather, fear, confusion, bad information, exhausted soldiers, and unexpected resistance. The battlefield does not behave like a spreadsheet. Neither does life. A founder can work 16 hours a day and still be moving toward collapse. A person can answer every message and become less important with every response. The surprising truth is that activity can reduce your freedom. The more commitments you create, the more conditions you must defend. This is why intelligent people sometimes become easier to defeat. Their complexity becomes a cage. Consider social media. Someone attacks a public figure online. The obvious response is to answer immediately. But the moment the target responds, the attacker has achieved something deeper than attention. They have chosen the battlefield, the timing, and the emotional frame. The target is now reacting inside someone else's design. The twist is simple. Sometimes the strongest move looks like weakness because it refuses to participate. But that raises a dangerous question. If reaction gives away control, what happens when your opponent deliberately provokes you into reacting? Number 3. The first weapon is emotional timing. Imagine a negotiation between two executives. One arrives prepared with numbers, forecasts, and legal documents. The other arrives calm and says almost nothing. Then, near the end, he makes one small request. The first executive becomes uncomfortable. He starts explaining, then defending, then conceding. Nothing dramatic happened. No threat was made. Yet the balance shifted. Why? Because uncertainty creates psychological pressure. Clausewitz understood that war is never fought with perfect information. Commanders act through incomplete knowledge. Fear fills the empty spaces. Modern technology has amplified this effect. Algorithms can detect hesitation. Markets react to rumors before facts arrive. Political campaigns release information at carefully chosen moments. Negotiators use silence because silence forces the other side to reveal what they were hoping to conceal. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The person who needs certainty first often becomes dependent on the person who can withhold it. But there is another layer. Timing is not merely about waiting. It is about making the other side spend resources before you spend yours. Every unnecessary reaction consumes attention, credibility, money, and emotional energy. And once those resources disappear, even a powerful opponent can become fragile. Which leads to a principle that sounds almost passive, but is anything but passive. Number 4. Sometimes waiting is an attack. Most people associate strategy with action. Move first, speak first, strike first, announce first. But there are situations where moving first gives away information for free. Imagine two artificial intelligence companies preparing to launch competing systems. One announces everything months ahead of time. The market learns its pricing, positioning, promises, and weaknesses. The other watches. It says little. It studies customer reaction. It watches regulators. It observes where the first company overcommits. By launch day, the second company is not simply responding to a competitor. It is responding to a map the competitor drew for itself. This is where patience becomes dangerous. Waiting allows reality to reveal itself. In war, a commander cannot eliminate uncertainty. He can only decide how much uncertainty he is willing to absorb. In business, relationships, and politics, the same principle applies. The impatient person pays for information with action. The patient person often receives information simply by watching. But here comes the twist. Patience without a purpose is not strategy. It is hesitation. The difference is whether you are waiting for time to pass or waiting for the environment to expose a weakness. And around this point, we reach the mistake that destroys even disciplined strategists.